1, 2, 3. That was a good one. Bam! What the fuck is going on, fine hooligans? Now, we got a Joker review. If you're, you've been around for a while, I'm gonna dive deep into this. I like, looking at cinematography. I like the way soundtracks, affect things, all of it. So we gonna get into it. Now, how this is going to work is the first little bit will be just like a very vague review. You know what I mean? No spoilers or anything. Spoilers? No spoilers or anything. And then once we're getting into spoiler territory, Spoilerville, Pennsylvania, then I'll give like a warning and everything. And if you tune out then, I understand. But if you stick around, then awesome. So, for the non-spoiler review, this movie is a very honest, I guess you could say, in a way, or in a way. I'm not going to say it's as violent and as brutal as a lot of people are kind of saying that it is. To be honest with you, there's if you think about it, there's more violence in Avengers movies than there is in the Joker. It's just the way it's done in this is such, I guess you could say, like a very in-your-face kind of way. More so than like the regular comic book movie content that we're used to seeing. The movie is like really a character study of a man named Arthur Fleck, who already has mental health issues, and he already has a kind of a way of escaping the real world. He escapes into daydreams a lot of the time. But we see him slowly devolving as the movie continues to where he eventually fully embraces this persona as the Joker, which actually comes from a comment made by somebody earlier that he remembers, kind of thing. What this movie does a really, really good job of is making you feel for this character like he is getting this really shitty end of the deal right now, but also having the moments where you go, well, fuck, I've had bad days, but I'm not gonna handle it like that. So it's executed in a way that is really well done, to be honest. I really liked it. The way that we see Joaquin Phoenix become more devolved and more pushed into this madness is actually a very interesting way. I haven't seen a whole lot of Joaquin Phoenix movies. I just watched this one called You Were Never Really Here, and fuck, that was a good movie. That was a really good movie. And even with this one, like his performance in this movie is amazing. I don't know. Because this is something completely different, really, from what we've seen of the regular Joker, portrayals, I think this one has to kind of be judged or based just on its own. You can't really, in no way can you compare it to Heath Ledger or Jack Nicholson or Jared Leto or whatever you want. All of the acting, honestly, every part was just, the acting all throughout was amazing. I thought everybody did a really great job, especially Penny Fleck. I can't remember the actress's name. She's from the American Horror Story as well. I believe first season, she was the maid with the one eye thing. Like the plot and everything is executed amazing. The cinematography of the movie is absolutely beautiful just to even see. I definitely recommend this. Even if you're not into comic book movies, this is one that honestly, like the only thing really tying it is the few references to some DC stuff and then him being called the Joker. This is a movie that you could watch and it definitely doesn't feel like a comic book movie or anything like that. So I definitely recommend it to folks. If you get the chance to see it in theaters and you do enjoy the theater experience, then go for it. For me personally, I'm more excited to watch it again at home because just certain things in the theater kind of could affect the way you watch it. But go see it if you can. All right, we're getting into spoiler territory. It was really hard to do that review without talking about spoilers and all that stuff. So I'm glad we're in this part now. If you don't want spoilers or anything and you click off now, totally understand. I appreciate you checking it out. I'm sorry for the bit of a, rambly review, I guess. But either way, thank you very much. Mwah, mwah, mwah for your beautiful fat cheese. And keep being weird, please. Come on now. Now, if you're sticking around, let's get to the spoilers. All right, now, I'm so excited. it's so hard to do reviews and not fucking jump into spoilers and like be able to, you know, dissect it all the way I like to. So the one thing to keep in mind for this, like, and I actually forgot about this one point until about like 15-20 minutes or so into the movie. This is the world seen through Arthur's eyes. So when this movie was being promoted and everything, before we even saw the trailer, like everything said, like, you know, this is through Arthur's eyes. So, you know, Thomas Wayne is going to be very different than what we see in the comics, where like in the comics, he is a very like, you know, kind of upstanding gentleman, member of society or whatever you want to say. In this one, he's kind of more Donald Trump-ish in a way. He was even kind of described as such, like when they were kind of promoting the movie. Man, fuck, this movie's so good though. Probably gonna say that a lot. So with Arthur Fleck, and this is the thing, I'm gonna try and differentiate because there are differences between who Arthur is and when he becomes Joker. Like they are two separate characters. Some similarities, but I feel there is a difference. So with Arthur, he escapes into daydreams a lot. Like we see that when he's watching I can't remember what it's called, but the talk show with Murray, Robert De Niro's character. We don't even get like a white flash on the camera or like a transition shot or whatever. It's literally, we go from Arthur and his mom watching the show to Arthur in this daydream in the crowd, and then, you know, being like kind of praised and loved by Murray like throughout the conversation kind of thing. You see that throughout the whole movie, where he's escaping into these daydreams and he's escaping into these, what I'll call the multiple choices. That is going to come up later. Fine, hooligans. One thing I think that is going on as well throughout this movie, at least through Arthur's kind of like devolvement into madness, I think there's a lot of inner dialogue that we're not hearing as the audience. Like there is a conversation with Arthur and perhaps this Joker character going through his head. Now, the reason I feel like that is because at one point, the first time he sees Thomas Wayne on TV and Thomas Wayne says, you know, like, I've done something with my life. The people who haven't done something with their lives are clowns. The way he reacts and kind of leans back and is just silent and he's taking that in, I feel like there is that inner dialogue in the moment where this one voice is now saying, you have to do something. You have to do something about this man and show him, like, whether it's create chaos or show him who, like, what the clowns really are. You know what I mean? I can't help but feel like there is that inner dialogue as audiences we're not privy to. And I also think that moment when he first sees Thomas Wayne and he hears those words and everything, I think that is the moment where he doesn't know what he's going to do, but he knows that his path somehow is going to lead to Thomas Wayne. So for this character, Joaquin Phoenix actually kind of researched this one condition. I have it written down here. Pseudobulbar effect. I'll have it on the screen so you can see how it's spelt or whatever. What this is, and if you ever see me looking over here, it's because I got my notes on my laptop. So what this is, it's actually a condition where emotions basically get crossed. We have the opposite reactions to things. So anger and frustration and sadness can actually bring laughter, and it gets into these uncontrollable fits where you're in physical pain because you can't help but laugh because that's just how your body's reacting. It also can result in like extreme crying fits over something super, super small. I know some people will be like, well, what do you mean by like something small? Like literally, like it could be something on the TV where, you know, somebody cut their finger or something, and then that person thinks of it in a way, and then extreme crying fit. There is also something called emotional lability, which is something a little different. They are very similar, but they have their differences as well. So it's easy to get those two confused as well. With Arthur, with the subway scene, the first kill, pow, pow, pow. What I think this is, I don't think it brought him happiness or any sort of emotion. I think it was more of a relief and a power thing, because he's in this mind state where I've just now killed 3 people. You don't know how to process that. So there's no immediate emotion that triggers for him. So with that, it brings a relief because he's not laughing, he's not crying, he's just calm. Which is one of those moments where, you have to look at it. At one hand, these guys are being kind of douchebags or whatever, and, they obviously start like beating him up and everything. Did they deserve to get shot? That's up to you to decide. That's a subjective thing, I suppose. But it is one of those things where you go, well, shit, that sucks. Like, he doesn't deserve to get beat up. Well, maybe he didn't have to shoot them. You know what I mean? Maybe he didn't have to kill them. Like, this is one of those moments where I'm talking, like I had mentioned, where you feel bad because of what he's going through, but then you're like, well, shit, man, you probably could have handled this a bit better. After this first kill, because he has this sense of relief inside of him now, he gets this confidence about him. You see things are kind of going a little bit better for him. He goes on a date with another lady that lives in his building. I think her name was Sophie. Damn it. I should have remembered this. But it's also one of these things. He sees the newspaper where it talks about these people who got killed, and he sees this clown mask and everything. And then somebody drives by wearing the clown mask, and you see just this genuine smile creep on his face. It's just a pure joy. It's nothing else. In these moments where he's remembering this kill and this relief, and how now in a way he's become a symbol for people, or at least he's the center of attention, it's given him a sense of joy and happiness, and in a way his own place in the world. One thing that I noticed with the movie is, I'd say for about the first act, some of it does feel very scattered. We're going from this event to this event to this event to this event, and there might not be really anything connecting a lot of those. The only piece that is Arthur being there and experiencing this. Other than that, if you might feel like it's very scattered, you don't really know what's kind of going on, but you have to remember that this is being, in a way, told through Arthur. It's like a narration without the narration. Now, obviously, you can't just fucking kill people, and, police aren't gonna, well, I guess some places you can. So now we have detectives looking at Arthur for these murders on the subway, and when they showed up to the house and everything, kind of like tried to talk to his mom, she went into a stroke, just like had to be hospitalized. That's where Arthur sees the TV host Murray play his clip from his stand-up set, which we actually saw in the trailer. The part where, he's like, when I told people I was going to be a stand-up comedian, they all laughed at me. Well, who's laughing now? Or, you know what I mean? And that's actually where, like, Murray says, check this Joker out. Like, when he brings the clip up. That is the moment when a hero became a target and an insult became a label. Ooh, that's good. And this is actually where the one scene that I had said in the trailer, where it was, it's as easy as him being like, can you introduce me as Joker? And it would have been just as easy as Murray saying, no, that's not going to happen. Which is actually, like, his manager or whatever that was there, I believe, had actually protested against it. But then Arthur has said, that's what you called me on the show. So introduce me as that. Which I don't know. Thought it was very interesting. And that's also why, like, I said, an insult became a label. Now, before we get to what happens on, Murray's show and everything like that, I want to talk about his mom's file. Earlier in the movie, we see a letter from his mom, Penny, saying, or it was addressed to Thomas Wayne, saying she needs help with their son because Arthur is yours. He confronts his mom about this, and his mom tells him that. And this idea actually has been done in a few different comics with Batman over the years. I believe it was with one of the... I want to say it was in the Court of Owls, but I might be wrong about that. I know for sure Murder at Wayne Manor, I'm pretty sure, is when they tried to kind of do the whole Black Mask might have been Bruce Wayne's or no, Bruce Wayne's brother, but from an affair and everything. So this idea has been explored before, but it was interesting to actually see it done in this movie. And for a bit, you're like, holy shit, Bruce Wayne and Arthur are like related? This leads to Arthur going and confronting Thomas Wayne. He gets so close, he gets like right up to the front gate of Wayne Manor. That's where he talks to Bruce Wayne and everything. And then you see Alfred, who he like reaches through the gate and like starts choking him before he takes off. He goes home, his mom's still in the hospital, and he sees on the TV that Thomas Wayne is going to be at this like film show or whatever. I think it's like a celebration. I can't remember off the top of my head right now. But they're showing Charlie Chaplin movies. Arthur knows exactly where to find him now. This is also where a huge like gathering of people in the clown masks and like face paint and everything are. So when Arthur gets there and starts going through, he actually feels kind of at home. You see that joy in his face again. This also when like he's able to kind of sneak into that like museum or whatever. Now, this whole scene when he's sneaking into like the museum and all that, this was like one of the things where like, you know, if you're paying attention and you're sitting, you're thinking to yourself, how the fuck has nobody called him out or like been like, hey man, I know you don't work here. Remember, this is through Arthur's eyes. It may not be the dependable story. So now he's confronting Thomas Wayne. Mentions his mom and everything, and Thomas Wayne tells him, your mom was crazy, basically. Like, she adopted you. Like, she never told you this? Basically, we find out that Arthur's adopted, and his mom neglected him and everything, and just not a great person, basically. Which, like, I can't imagine that. Like, you know, you feel like this parent who has never lied to you at all finally tells you this big thing, and you go to who you feel is your dad, and it just, it blows up in your face. Like, that is such a huge blow and such a huge trigger for this whole, like, downfall of Arthur's. It's, that's a moment where you can't help but kind of feel bad for the guy. But in that conversation is when we actually learned that Penny was in Arkham State Hospital, which I liked how they did that. I like how it wasn't just like on an island or whatever, Arkham Asylum or whatever. I liked how it was like Arkham State Hospital, and it really did feel like it would be part of this like overbearing city that we're kind of running through. And this is where Arthur finds out like his mom is dealing with like delusions and narcissistic, like, what is it called? Narcissistic, like, tendencies? I don't know. She's a narcissist, which we actually see evidence of when he says, like, you know, I have a date, or I was on a date and everything. Right away, his mom doesn't want to dance with him anymore, and she wants to go to bed and everything. And he also finds out that he's been abused. He's just like, his mom was, you know, used to get beat, and she used to, like, basically let him get beat on the whole time. They found him, like, handcuffed to a radiator in the house. Like, this kid, as a kid, he went through so much. And actually, the pseudo-bulbar effect, what he goes through as a kid is basically like the check boxes for a lot of the, like, that condition, the severe traumatic episodes as a kid. You know, coming from a really bad, like, surrounding, and the parent and everything isn't there, like, physical and psychological like abuse, basically, which it sucks. Obviously, like, you know, kids shouldn't be abused. Nobody really should. But what I'm saying is it's very interesting because in this movie, with Arthur wanting to be a stand-up comedian and also having this abusive background, like, as a kid and everything, it's two of the Joker's origin stories kind of coming into the movie and everything, which I actually thought was really cool to, like, kind of take both of them and put them in this movie. But we're going to go into that a little bit later. Ooh. So while he's going through the file, he does find the application for adoption. So now in that moment, it crushes him and everything. But I think that inner dialogue is like, well, now she's not your mom. She's nothing to you. She lied to you. She let you be abused. And that's what makes it so easy for him to go and kill her. Because now she's not family. She's just somebody who let him be abused and lied to him, and she's just like everybody else, basically. Now Arthur is tiptoeing that line of Arthur and Joker, basically. When he got fired from his job or whatever, for, the whole gun incident with Randall, I didn't jump into that super quick. So Arthur works as a clown for hire and everything in the beginning, in the trailer, actually, when you see him kind of like get jumped and everything by those people and they steal his sign. That's like the first strike. This guy Randall tells him, you should get a gun. Like, a lot of us like have them for protection. So he gives it to Arthur. While he's doing like a performance at a kid's hospital, it actually falls out of his pant leg. So kind of gets fired for it. But then the guy Randall says that Arthur asked him for it. So kind of like acts like he's Arthur's friend, but he's like, nah, fuck that. I'm not telling like the truth about this. Back to present. So now with Randall and Gary in Arthur's apartment, after he's, put on that white base and he's dyed his hair green, which, oh my goodness, he looked so creepy, but so cool. With this scene, Arthur has already had it in his head, like, Randall is one of those people that have to die now. So with Randall's death, while it's kind of almost, I don't know, you feel like it's coming, but like in the same sense, it feels like it's almost out of it. It comes out of nowhere. It shows for me, it shows the brutality of Arthur and the level he's willing to go. Because again, we have these moments in the movie where you feel bad for him and you feel like, shit, man, like this guy's just getting like a real shitty deal. But then he suffocates his mom. Well, his adopted mom. And he kills this guy for, kind of not letting himself lose his job or whatever. So as the movie goes on, we have less of these moments where we're like, well, fuck, man, like, poor guy. Where it's just like, holy shit, man, like, I don't know, maybe like try some deep breathing or something. I like drink some fucking peppermint tea, 2 honeys, it'll help. But like I said, this shows where he's not this, closed off individual anymore, where he's not going to just stand by. Now it's, if you've wronged me, I get revenge. I get to fucking kill you or do whatever I want, basically. Who knows? But it was also this scene that kind of, I was like, kind of wish I could have watched this at home. Because I don't know if this was intended to be funny or not. But Gary in the movie, he is a little person. So once him and Randall came in, Arthur had put the chain back on the door. As he tells Gary, like, I'm not going to hurt you. You can go. You were one of the only ones that were nice to me. When Gary goes to leave, Arthur's still sitting at like Randall's body and he can't reach the chain. The theater starts laughing. Just keeps laughing, basically, as if it was like a super funny punchline. And for me, that moment, I was like, oh, fuck. Like, it actually added more to like the intensity and the fear. Like, because think about it, for Gary, like, he's already freaked out. Arthur, who's like, always kind of been quiet, kept to himself, just stabbed Randall in the throat and in the face and bashed his head on the wall. And now he can't unlock the door to get the fuck out of there. So for me, it added more fear and everything to that moment for Gary. In the theater, a lot of people, like, again, it's a subjective thing. So, you know what I mean? They might have found it funny. For me, it added more to like the intensity or whatever of the scene in a way. But it's things like that I say, if you want to see it in theaters, go see it in theaters. But I think it might be a better viewing at home. Now, I can't remember the sequence of events if the scene where he's in the lady's apartment happened before or after Randall's death. I think it was before. But we do have a moment in the movie where the lady that he's gone out on these dates with and that he's been kind of crushing on, he goes into her apartment, and when she comes home, she doesn't really know who he is. Everything was all in Arthur's head. Because when she comes in, she says like, oh, your name's Arthur, right? You live down the hall? Well, how would she have to ask that if they've been on all these dates? It's because this is all in Arthur's head. Ooh, that multiple choice baby booey. Either way, once we know that like certain things have been in Arthur's head, you know that it's all right. We're dealing with someone who is definitely not in touch with reality. But if you remember, they planted this seed for us in the beginning of the movie. When he goes into that whole daydream of being on like Murray's show, right away it tells us or shows us that Arthur is the person who escapes into these daydreams and imagines a lot of things to like make his life like feel better for himself. We even see it with the whole stand-up set and everything. So it is one of those things. This seed is planted in the beginning of the movie, but because so much happens, we forget and we're on this ride with Arthur. And you don't really second guess certain things. I wanted to talk about when he's on Murray's show as Joker. He's made this transition. He is no longer Arthur. This is bueno. And this is honestly one of my favorite scenes of the movie because of the acting of Joaquin Phoenix. When he's on the show and he's having I don't want to say his breakdown, but just like things have gotten heated now. And it's when he's yelling and everything at Murray and he's saying, "How about another joke, Murray?" I also like how, I don't know, I like how he says, instead of calling him Murray, he calls him Murray. Like, "How about another joke, Murray?" "Well, thank you for having me on your show, Murray." "She wore a raspberry, Murray." Anyway, so when he's on the show and he's having that, everything's heated and he's like, "How about another joke, Murray?" What do you get when someone has been, a loner, cast out by society, and he's treated like trash? And, what do you get? You get what you fucking deserve. And then he shoots Murray. Now, what I want to actually focus on is that dialogue there when he's talking about, when he's having that moment. He goes from somebody almost holding back tears and just, you almost feel like it's a man that's on the edge, and with the sound of his voice, it's almost like he's like begging for help in a way. That's how I describe it, at least. But he's emotional. You can hear that he's holding back tears and everything. And then that line when he says, "You get what you fucking deserve." The way it goes from a man who literally, like, you can hear the tears in the word right before that sentence. And then he switches. And it's just this pure anger and this focused rage. And the way he delivered that line is so powerful. So powerful. Gave me goosebumps. It's just, that's one of those things when I say, like, Joaquin Phoenix is so good in this movie. That might be a very small part of dialogue, but for me, it was so good. And then, he shoots Murray, and thus begins everybody searching for him, like cops and everything, but also all of his kind of now supporters after admitting, like, yeah, I'm the guy who killed the people on the subway. I've kind of inspired all of this. There's a lot of people willing to help him in the city. Or it seems that way, doesn't it? All right. This is where I'm jumping into the multiple choice stuff. Oh, I love it. So, the Joker in The Killing Joke graphic novel says, I believe it was in The Killing Joke, says, "I prefer my origin to be a bit of a multiple choice." And we see that in this movie, folks. We see the multiple choices. Arthur could have just walked through everything by himself. Or he could have been on dates and had this lady with him as well. He could have been for a while, he just told people, "I'm a stand-up comedian" and everything. Now he has this abuse story as well from his childhood, so he can kind of play on that instead of the stand-up comedian, or pick both. It's literally like A, B, C, D, all of the above. You know what I mean? And this is something like from Joker, from the comics and everything. And when we see it at the end of the movie and he's laughing and the doctor in the room with him says, what's so funny, Arthur?" He's like, "Never mind. You wouldn't get it." Like, or, "I was thinking of a joke, but you wouldn't get it," kind of thing. I think in that moment, he's thinking of the multiple choice that amuses him the most. Maybe that's the multiple choice where instead of, now this is just obviously a theory, instead of the moment where he kills his mom and then the hospital basically would arrest him and put him in Arkham, maybe he's thinking of the multiple choice option where, you know, he's this symbol for all these people and he like rallies all these people up to create this chaos and, you know, kind of in a way maybe get revenge on Thomas Wayne. Or it's just, and that's what he finds amusing, is because he, you know, incites this like violence inside of people, and he gets to, you know, be the one that kind of ruins Bruce Wayne, just like he got ruined when he was a kid. And it's just, it's one of those things for me, as soon as it was like, you know, you wouldn't get it, and I started thinking of the multiple choice stuff with Joker, ah, it's just so fun to think and like dive into it. So the ending, was it all a dream? Was he thinking of like the multiple choice that amused him the most? I have no idea. That's something that you folks are going to have to, like, you know, decide for yourself. Maybe all of this shit really did happen, but you got to ask yourself, why didn't he get called out at the museum? Why didn't people realize, like, you know, you don't work here? That one dude in the bathroom doesn't even pay attention to him at all. There's a lot of things where you realize they don't quite click. Where did he get the snazzy suit if he didn't have money? The one thing in the ending that I did find super interesting is as Arthur's coming out of the room and walking down the hall, these bloody footprints that are on the floor, you see that, okay, Arthur is definitely capable of murder. That he has no issue with. That was not part of the dream. So now you ask yourself, which murders were real? What violence did he commit? Ooh, such an interesting movie to dive into and discuss and everything. And now I know, I apologize, folks. I know this has been a bit of a longer video. I had a lot of fun just thinking about this movie and kind of not dissecting it, but discussing it and everything. It's been one of those movies that's been really cool to go see it, like, and like see how everything unfolds. Also, like, just and being able to discuss it with folks, because it's not, I don't know, it's not just like a movie where you go and see it and you go, oh, okay, cool, I get it, I know, like, this is what happened, and then you go home. You know what I mean? This is a movie where you watch it and you start thinking about it and you question things that you saw, or you question other like theories or whatever. It's just it's a really fun ride to take. But I can't leave without these couple little side notes, so I'm gonna do them rapid fire. It's literally just quick little scenes that I really enjoyed because the cinematography of this movie. Okay, the change of colors and hues like within a scene to reflect a mood or to reflect kind of an event happening. Super, super cool. Oh, the lighting on his face and everything also, like before he comes out, like when he's like backstage still at Murray's, like behind the curtain or whatever. So bueno. I noticed the clown mask that ends up kind of like being worn or whatever is actually on his boss's desk as well. Helms Pharmacy. Ed Helms was Stu in the Hangover movies, which Todd Phillips directed. The use of the soundtrack in this movie is amazing. I love when, or at least the one example, like when Arthur sees the newspaper and the car drives by and you hear the song playing, like, what's the use of frowning? Just smile. And he goes from making like trying to be like the scary clown face on the newspaper to just smiling because he sees somebody driving by like with that mask on. When Arthur gets jumped in the beginning of the movie and it looks like he's holding his side, he's actually pushing the button on his flower there to let the water out. And he kind of like, he lets out a little smile and like a little chuckle as well. Trying to make everything a joke. The bus scene when he's going to Arkham State Hospital and he has the two window frames here and the separation goes right down the middle. I love how that one side of him is just like brightly lit and everything, and the other one is almost just cast in shadows, because this is like the tipping point for him where it's which way is he going to go, the light or the dark. And I know everyone's going to say it, but I have to as well. I love the blood making the smile scene at the end. I thought that was really cool. And if anyone has seen the comic cover with Joker and Batgirl, he makes that smile with the blood on her face. I don't know if it's a reference to it, but I feel like it is, and I thought it was really cool. All in all, honestly, I enjoyed this movie so much more than I thought I was going to. Joaquin Phoenix, oh, goodness. Powerful performance, folks. Powerful Joaquin Phoenix. I think Todd Phillips did an amazing job with this movie, directing it and just coming up with this idea and then executing it in such a way. If I missed anything, I'm sorry. There was a lot of notes to go through. I'm sure I did miss some things that I really enjoyed as well. But whatever you want to throw in the comments that you enjoyed about the movie, throw them below. Or if they are super spoilers, hit me up on the Twitter and Instagram. Same name is on here. It was on the screen in the beginning of the video, I'm sure. Either way, thank you for sitting through this. I hope you folks enjoyed. I really hope that we can get back to doing like live streams and everything where we can do these live discussions about movies like what we did with Last Jedi. So much fun. So, goodness. This was a lot of fun. Okay. Mucho love you, hooligans. Mwah, mwah, mwah for you beautiful fat J's. My quiet kids, freaks, and weirdos. For the love of everybody, keep being weird. I thank you.